I have just a couple. In that very first picture, and oh, it sounds silly, but what are the orange things?
In the back?
Right there.
Yeah.
Are they pumpkins? Are they?
They look like pumpkins.
They look like pumpkins to me. And if they're pumpkins, then I have a follow-up question. And if there's something else, I may have a follow-up question.
On the back of it.
It's right on the front there. And I guess the reason I ask is pumpkins, just like many other growing things, are going to help push a wall because of the nature of them. And if it's town property, we shouldn't have pumpkins growing on our property. So, you know, that was just the first thing that came to mind when I saw the picture.
It's a mystery.
I didn't see any other pumpkins in any other pictures. Moving to the London boulders, obviously this is a more costly solution than others that could be made. Have you weighed the cost benefits of this?
This is the cheapest way to go. The London boulders blocks are the cheapest way to go. The other way you go is retaining wall, which is a concrete, and it comes out to more money than that. The time and labor and the price comes out. This is the fastest and easiest way to do it, really.
Interesting. And then would it be town employees who would be not contracted? That was it, thank you.
Thank you. You look for a recommendation on this, or just an update?
Well, it's $25,000.
We need to approve that. All right, that's going to require a roll call.
I'll make that
Got a
motion.
motion?
Second.
Sorry.
Excuse me, where's the document that states the amount?
It
was in the other. Oh, thank you.
It's 22,101.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to accept the recommendation and
We already,
to.
I think we did.
we just already
We
got
did
that.
that. We did that. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Where are we getting the money to do this?
Our line item, it's in here. It's the 43721, 421, it's the construction materials, line item.
Yeah, how much do we have in that account?
We've got $58,000 in there.
Any other questions? I guess we'll need a roll call vote on this one, right? Okay.
I'll use roll call number 2. Councilor Van Scoy.
Aye.
Councilor Comine, aye. Councilor Downer.
Aye.
Councilor Lembo.
Aye.
Councilor Levesque.
Aye.
Councilor Lazat.
Aye.
Councilor Orr.
Aye.
Councilor Sullivan.
Aye.
Chair Cyrus.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Charter Review Committee. You have that staff report in front of you. Comments, questions?
Yeah, just you asked for a draft chart, so I took what Councilor sent me and rearranged it, stole it mercilessly, and turned it into this.
Okay. Now, the question I have is, under number 1, made to comply with New Hampshire statutes and recommendations. As I recall, Carol Granville said that legal counsel had reviewed that and that was completed, but I don't think I was, maybe I may have misunderstood. Yes, ma'am.
So, in direct response to that, even though I do have other comments, I think what was reviewed based on the information that was provided to us was that the changes that were proposed conform to the RSA, and that I think for the most part, I really like the way this came out. I wasn't sure how it was going to, and I think that is a good first thing to go through, and hopefully that's one of the easiest ones because it has been beat over and looked over a few times. But I think, you know, another look through for that particular charge is good. The thing I did want to comment, I guess, in general, is the due date and the idea of a due date. I've pondered that a little bit, because the last thing I think we need to do is to speed along or set a drop dead, this is when we want information. So I guess where I would like to see is, instead of having an initial due date, if we are going to incorporate dates, to have it more of a timeline of, this is when we think we'll be able to get the committee together, or this is when we want the initial review and review of our tasks that we've written up, and provide us with any questions you have about those particular tasks, instead of setting, I guess, due dates, more of a timeline. Thank you.
Other comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my position, as it's always been the last few months, is that, I'm a stickler with, typically, people tend to fail. The processes that are set up usually are not where the failure occurs. And my feeling is that this charter really should be, once again, looked at from the standpoint of where it's failed us. That's the measure of a process. If it fails, then you got to find out where that process fails. In the sense of the charter, I'm kind of thinking of that is, where has it failed us? We've gone through, like I said, we've gone through a lot of, in the past I've said this, we've gone through a lot of issues over the last couple of years, and the question is, was that, people failing to follow the process, or was it a failure of the charter? Does the charter provide enough oversight? Are there things of that nature? So I think that what we should look is look back, see if there's anything where you can identify the charter has actually failed us.
Good. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Since I was a citizens volunteer with Mr. Levesque as a counselor, and two other gentlemen who are in the office, in the building, in the meeting room, I think this addresses this charge, just clarifying the dates that certain things will be due. I think it clarifies the need for a thorough review, as Councilor Zott says, because it says, I think we can, whoever's on that committee, under 2, focusing on modifications that will enhance town operations, improve governance. I assume that would be the process that at that point the committee would look at, okay, what hasn't worked and how can we enhance that process. I think so that addresses it. It also allows more time to think about what we're changing, as suggested by 2 original charter members back in 1989. Actually, the charter was only about 3 years old when there was a petition to abolish that. So clearly we have a little bit more time now, since it's 23 years old, that we can look at that. So I think this addresses the concerns of the public, that we're not rushing the process, and allows for some of the other far-ranging suggestions brought forth previously to be thoroughly reviewed. So I think this is a good, very good charge, and we just want to place the dates in specifically so we're not rushing the process.
Further comments? So we have.
Do we need to accept the charge and
Well,
make a motion to that?
I was going to ask about the due dates. How do you want to do this timing on?
Let me
Yes, sir.
let me speak to the charge first. So I still believe that this body should set aside time to deliberate, to understand where the charter has failed. Understand it before we put the charter into play. Because we might want to modify it in terms of that. But right now, I'm unclear where the charter's failed us at all.
Yeah, I'm unclear. So who's going to take that task on?
I don't know if you want to form a subcommittee. I'd be more than happy to chair that subcommittee. But because the other thing I'd like to reflect is that upon asking how this chart has been reviewed by the legal counsel, and as Councilor Vanscoy has indicated, the documents that we've got, what I see is that we've reviewed it in 2008, we reviewed it in 2011, but prior to that we hadn't reviewed it since I guess 1998, and now we're talking about 2012. I've gone through and looked at other towns and where they've embedded a trigger clause in their charter, which basically says every 3 years you review it. And maybe that's something we should consider instead of, because I really kind of think, you know, we didn't get it 100% in 2008, we didn't get it 100% in 2011, and we're going into 2012. But I think we really need to reevaluate our process. That's why I'm kind of being adamant about the idea of let's us determine where it failed, or maybe even as a council where we believe we need flexibility. That would be something else that I'd be willing to, I personally be willing to say that we should look into.
And my suspicions are, if you take this on, Mr. Lazat, it'll be done. So I would really much appreciate you sharing that, and we'll ask some other people who had some experience with this who can perhaps add further insight into perhaps to ask that question, how has the charter failed us? I don't know if that's true or not, but at this point in time, so consider yourself chair, give some thoughts of identifying some other folks.
I don't understand what we're doing right now, so.
We're not doing anything.
Can I ask a question? If this committee, we don't need an official committee. If a counselor, under their ability as a council when they're seated, if they have an issue where a change must be made, because an oversight to fix the problem, we as a council can propose a warrant article to amend the charter at any time each year. So, but I think the concern I'm getting from is, and I've been living this, and a lot of people here have been living this since 1989, and it's a changing document. Things that we weren't aware of in 1989 popped up 3 years later, where there was a discussion, oh, how do you elect a counselor after 3 ties? We didn't have an answer. So they crafted a charter change to allow, so the question is, I think if we're going to have the committee, I don't know if we've had members interested already from the previous posting, but let's let the committee decide, and hopefully they'll take your urge to have Mr. Lazar chair it, but it shouldn't preclude someone else in the public volunteering to chair this committee if we're going to get the public involved. So that would be my suggestion.
Other comments? Yes, sir.
I don't think the charter ever failed us. I think because of the changing of the times, it might need to be modified a bit with the RSAs and stuff. But I don't agree that the charter has ever failed us. The people that worked on it back when it was drawn up did an excellent job, and they tried to look into the future a little bit, but it has never failed us.
Yeah.
May I continue with my earlier comment of, I would like to make a motion that at this time we ask for an administrative review of the issues that have faced us in the charter, and after receiving that administrative review, determine where to proceed with a charter review committee. To clarify my motion, I believe we should ask our town administrator to review our town charter, identifying weak spots, and look at past records through minutes, and each council member, each person of the public who feels there is a place they would like it pointed out that there was a confusion within the charter. I would ask them to bring that to the town administrator. But at this time, I do not feel it's appropriate to form a committee. And again, I'll restate my motion is to ask for an administrative review of the issues that are perceived as needed changing in the charter.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second. Second by Mr. Lazat. Further discussion?
And I think that's good, but I believe, not serving on the council, I believe that was one of the things, I shouldn't say I believe, we did as a committee of 4, including the previous administrator, and she brought in many issues that she felt after a couple of years of serving as administrator where there was problems. And I'm not taking anything away from Dean, but looking at a charter 2 months into dealing it may be a little